Hello! How you doing? I walk like 4+ miles a day out in the freezing cold. Wearing these thick gloves, my fingers are still freezing, so I found this pair of super warm, cozy gloves by Outdoor Research. Unfortunately, they're $200. So I ordered a used pair with some stains on it on eBay for $45. That's kind of how I live my life. I was like, I hear these are really great. The reviews are great. They're Gore-Tex and all this other stuff, but I don't have the money to do that. So I swear like half the clothing that I buy is used off of eBay. Yeah. Just for all the people that think I'm like living the high life or something. I don't know why people think that. I really don't. I'm going to tell you why it's collapsing. And maybe if you could turn off any part of you that's emotional and just think about this rationally. Yeah, I've lived a simple, clean life, never been arrested, never been in trouble with the law, paid my taxes, so I have the ability to say stuff like this because in several arenas of my life I've, some people you don't want to hear about things if they're totally hypocritical. They've done awful things. You want to hear about how to live life from people that have done really horrible things or, totally hypocritical against the stuff that they're actually talking about. By the way, I was on the phone. One of the few things that actually, I won't use the word upsets me, but it actually really turns me the wrong way is when you'll talk with somebody on the phone and you tell them a bunch of facts and then they'll say, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry you feel that way." I'll immediately take that record player and I'll grind it to a halt and over. It's like, no. Don't ever confuse feelings with facts with me. People that do that, you can actually, I don't need a job interview like if I were a person that was hiring. I could determine basically with just a few questions or see how somebody responds to something, what they really understand about this world and how the insights that they have, whether they're just upside down or backwards. When people confuse feelings with facts, you never confuse feelings with facts. By the way, this is true, and yes, I know I'm bald and tattooed, and I've lost a bunch of weight, but I still need to lose like another 20 pounds. For some reason, maybe it's the outreach or whatever, and I come across, and I am, including in person, very nice, but I think a lot of people confuse niceness with being weak, and I am absolutely, of course you don't know me. None of you have met me, maybe one or two of you have, but I don't back down. I'm not weak at all in person. Some people shrink from everything, and I find that extremely repulsive. Well, someone will state a bunch of lies or something, and the other person will just like shrink and back down, kind of like the Dobby character from Harry Potter. I'm absolutely 100% not like that in person, but I am very nice, and I think a lot of people confuse niceness with weakness, or the fact that, here's an intelligent guy that owns a bunch of land, and he seems really smart, and he writes a lot of books. I don't necessarily agree with him. I've had ladies tell me this before, and I haven't been on, and I'm totally honest about my life. I don't have any, secrets in the basement or anything like that. I haven't been on a date in 17 years. I've only ever dated 5 people, and the 10 years that I was married was absolute 100% horrific. It was just absolutely horrific. There was no honeymoon. There was nothing there that anybody would look forward to in a wedding. She was just, I was going to take care of her for like 9 months. She had a giant brain tumor, and I just thought I'd stick by her. But she was like part of the 1/100th of 1% that live longer than like 8 or 9 or 10 months. And she didn't have any money. It was just 10 years of unmitigated hell. So I can actually say I've been married for 10 years, but actually wasn't in a real marriage, even though I have a marriage certificate and all that other stuff. So I've been through the ringer, way more than most people, but I'm not actually bemoaning that fact. I'm just stating that outright before I actually talk about the subject in this video, because I'm an extremely observant person. But once a year, someone will send me, a female, will send me an email where they're kind of like, I don't want to say hitting on me, like, hey, what's up, this is me. And everybody's entitled to live their life however they want, but, they're like red flags. And, as Groucho Marx said, I would never join a club that would have me as a member. I'd actually make a really great husband. You know, I'm kind and caring and nice, and I've never treated anybody bad. Never, ever, ever, ever. There's always the other way around, actually. But I'm not bitter or jaded about that. It's just, you know, it's just there's a lot of bad people out there. Unfortunately, that's the case. People with way too much baggage. You know, I've been through hell, but I don't have that kind of baggage. And anyway, sending me pictures of the dog dressed up or a cat. I mean, is that a life partner? There's things that are being socially engineered, especially in Western society right now, that they're taking people, both men and women, okay, I'm not picking on any particular side, where they're brainwashing, you know, both sides to, you know, despise each other and not cohabitate and have a society, even a marriage or a relationship is just a small society. They don't want that happening. They want everybody alone and miserable and detesting everybody else. But you see dogs dressed up and this person telling me, and I got no issue with it, you know, it's fine. With the dog dressed up, people, you know, I'm only 53 years old, but people used to have dogs in their backyard and they loved them and whatnot, but, you know, now people, you know, cuddle in bed with their doggy or the kitty cat, and, you know, the animals only live 5 to 8 years. And I'm sorry, the greatest achievement of that dog or cat is licking its chocolate starfish every day. I mean, it's like that's the greatest achievement. I mean, it's not going to fix the plumbing. You know, it's not going to bring any money home. It's not going to take care of the baby. Well, then, of course, the question gets begged, what baby? I hate to say it, but people my age, and especially younger, they're just incredibly selfish, but they've also, too, and I see this stuff in live stream, the same statement over and over and over again. I'll talk about it in a second. It's just absolutely wrong. People are getting astronomically, you know, messed up in the head. They're actually obeying things that are completely against nature and natural order. Since I work 7 days a week, and I do, it's absolutely 7 days a week. I can't, I know there might be somebody out there for me. It would be nice to have a companion. I don't even think, and see, this is embarrassing. Nobody would admit to this, but you know it's true because I'm admitting to it. I don't even think I went on a date until I was like 28 years old, and I was a horrible person. I dated 2 redheads, a Chinese lady, the lady that I was married to, which I just cared for her. She really liked my writings and the stuff that I wrote about, and it was just 10 years of absolute Hades. It was just absolutely horrific. You know, no honeymoon, no nothing. It was just 10 years of unmitigated agony beyond belief. And that's just for me. And of course it was worse for her because she was paralyzed from the giant brain tumor that they took out. Oddly enough, even though they took out that giant grapefruit-sized brain tumor out of my wife's head, the only thing that actually changed about her was not her memory or her ability to speak or anything. She had a really beautiful angelic singing voice. And that was completely wiped out, but she had a better memory than I do. I can't remember people's names. That's quite fascinating when you take out a brain tumor that huge and the person has not forgot a single phone number or name or an event that happened earlier in their life. This is, of course, yet another proof that consciousness itself is holographic, but that's a matter for another discussion, not that it requires its own. But society, and there's several groups, there's many groups actually, that are trying to destroy, you know, millions of years of natural order and genetics of humanity, is they want you and me and everybody else living alone, isolated from all community, struggling to pay the bills. You know, there's certain sectors of humanity where, like, grandparents and parents and the children are all living in the same house and they all pitch in, and things are better that way. You might not have as much peace as is obvious, but things are better that way. But they want everybody, you know, just barely able to pay the bills, and we're right on the edge of everything completely breaking. We really, really are. I'm so glad to be living in the United States rather than the UK. The stuff that's happening in the UK is beyond belief. Even the prestigious citizens of the UK are telling young people in the UK, get out now. If you can get out of this country, get out. I can't believe the things that are actually happening there. course, like I said, a husband and a wife is still a community. It's just a small one. There's a video of a Connecticut woman showing you her electric bill, and it's like $1,100 and some dollars. Connecticut, by the way, which is basically communistic. 180 bucks roughly or something of her bill is her paying for people that are too poor to be able to afford their own electric. What if a third or a fourth of your electric bill was like, what's this crazy charge here? Oh, you're paying for other people that can't afford to pay their electric. I'm sorry, we call that kommunizma in Russian, by the way. I had no idea something that horrible was going on in Connecticut. The UK, they banned public prayer. There's a great one. I wrote a Substack article about it about a week and a half ago. A guy from the UK traveled to Florida for a vacation, and somebody took a picture of him legally, 100% legal, you know. Pew pew! Took a picture of the guy like this, right? And he posted it on his LinkedIn, and people were in the UK, everybody, the Aussies call it dobbing. That's where you snitch on somebody. The guy broke absolutely no law whatsoever, but his own citizenry in the UK were so afraid of him because he posted a picture of himself having fun in Florida. They arrested him. He says he hasn't been able to sleep since. They've ruined his life. They've ruined his job. This is a fact. I mean, Daily Mail and the Mirror and other places reported on this. This isn't some sort of rumor. Did you know that the UK is banning jury trials for those sentenced to 3 years or less? I'm sorry, but this is so 1,000% communist. It's 1,000% communist. Which makes a lot of sense. If somebody posts something on social media that you don't like, and you would, with a jury, you would normally be sentenced to, say, 1 to 3 years, which is enough to destroy your life and that of your family. It's absolutely brilliant, because that's who the UK is arresting now. Everybody that's like posted a social media post that the government doesn't want to see. They're banning juries in the UK. So you just get in front of the judge like, guilty, next, guilty, next. This isn't like rumor. This is happening. Go look that up. You know, it's times like this I'm so proud to be in the United States. You can pick on the United States for whatever problems you think are real or perceived, but I'm not going to ever have to put up with the great evils that are happening in the UK. The thing I keep seeing on live stream and other places that people are saying, you know, that they can't afford children. And this is obviously not true, since the poorer somebody is, the more likely they are to have a lot of children. This is specifically something, if I have a chalkboard here, this is something that's been talked about for a long time. I'm going to write it here rather than say it. Yeah, the fact that I have to write it says a lot in and of itself. But this is what that is. Here's what that is. I can't afford to have children. And they talk about children as being the worst thing in the world. Marriage and family is now looked upon in the West as a luxury item by people that have been so brainwashed. I've never seen so much brainwashing in all my life. You know, kids, little rugrats, you know, they generally only need, you know, a clean diaper, food, a roof over their head, and some hugs from their parents. That's all they need. They say, oh, it's just too expensive to rent. It's like, what are you talking about? Your neighbor is like making 1/10 as much income as you are, and they have like 5 or 6 kids, and they're all happy. You know, this idea, oh, the world's so evil, I'll never bring a child into this world, and, you know, climate this. They'll come up with any excuse for not, and that's what this is. That's not my opinion or a feeling or belief. It is this. A cult de la muerta. Muerta. That's what it is. It's a cult. A muerta cult. That's exactly what it is. I don't feel that it is a muerta cult. It is a cult de la muerta. And no, I don't speak Spanish. If I slightly mispronounce that, I apologize. I don't even pretend to speak Spanish. People that are even my age, I'm Gen X, but people who are generally 40 years and younger are so radically selfish beyond belief. You know, what if your parents were like that? You never would have been born. You never even be here. It warms my heart actually when I'm walking out in public. I know it's just bitterly cold out today. I walk like 4 miles. To see like a normal family out with 2 or 3 kids, and people are like, oh my God, it just ruined your life. You know, it's like, oh, you can't take vacation. Selfish. What if your parents thought or believed that kind of evil? That's just, the people have been programmed. Social media and news and all the rest of these entities have completely brainwashed people. I'm sorry, but all the stuff that's going on isn't going to reverse, 10 million years of nature and biology. It just makes everybody miserable. You should actually look up something, and you can find video clips of her. She wrote a book called Self-Made Man. Her name is Nora Vincent. She lived a year and a half or something like that as a man, and she'd date other people, and she got so miserable. She had no idea how most men, because both men have their own problems and women have their own problems. This is undeniable. I don't care what side you're on. If you take sides rather than just accept the way things are, you always want to make things better, but accept natural order, then you're just going to make your life a living hell. I see so many young people that both have money and really good looks, and I never had good looks or money, but these people are miserable. Basically, a lot of them don't even have to work. There's a place where I go walking as an expensive shopping plaza where people with more money than brains shop. People are so clueless. I mean, they're driving Bentleys and they're drop dead gorgeous and they're so miserable. Even more miserable than the person that's flipping burgers at McDonald's. And they've been so propagandized, to hate the other gender and that gender, This is being engineered on purpose to bring everybody down. Even though I have basically zero respect for Musk, the one thing that he said that's 1,000% correct is that population is falling off of a cliff. The government needs a tax base. That's the reason why governments are importing everybody from abroad. But it is falling off a cliff. There has to be a certain percentage of a replacement. And it's not being met. People say, oh, it's too expensive. I can't afford a house or a car. It's just a total lie. The people that have all the kids are the ones that are poorer than dirt, like infinitely more poor than you. So don't give me this idea that you're too poor to have a kid. It's just a stinking lie. It's propaganda. You've been fed it, you've ingested it, and you've made it part of yourself because you believe the stuff on media. You notice that in the past 30 plus years, TV dads have all been portrayed as ignorant, worthless fifth wheels. A lot of, the same guy that's like working himself to the bone to, keep a roof over the kids' heads and to feed them and whatnot. You cannot think of a single TV show, and I don't watch TV, I try not to, even though I watch Landman. Landman treats them the same way. They treat Billy Bob Thornton as the father and Landman as just this stupid fifth wheel, but he's bringing in all the money, this feeding everybody and keeping a roof over it. Every TV show portrays the hard-working, overstressed, overworked dad like the clown doofus. It's like, oh, there's dad. All of this programming is designed to destroy people, to keep them away from each other, to make them miserable, to keep them from reproducing. Here's a study, and this is confirmed, by the way. Tell me what you think of this. 80% of men say, 80% of men say, if they found a mate, a woman, with 80% of what they were looking for, like, here's a wife or a girlfriend, 80% of everything you're looking for, 80% of the men say, heck yeah. 75% of the women, when asked the same thing, said if you found a dude, a guy, with 80% of what you wanted, 80% of them said, 80%, heck no. There is something there, regardless of programming. And I never heard it more succinctly stated than this. I forget who said this. And to keep society from being so corrosive and so self-destructive, there has to be common sense brought into this equation. It said, this guy said, and it's very accurate, said, dating for women is like shopping. Dating for men is like going to a job interview but having to pay for the interview. Man, that is just so accurate. I have to repeat that. I'm so sorry. Dating for women is like shopping. And dating for men is like going to a job interview but except you have to pay to do the job interview. Another thing that's absolutely undeniable in almost 100% of the cases is that any rich man or even a poor man would date or marry a lady that's working at a Burger King or a McDonald's flipping burgers. They don't care. As long as they're a nice person and, you know, decent. Oh, great. I don't care if she works at McDonald's. She's a really nice girl. Absolutely. And I've seen videos of this. He's asking a bunch of ladies. I think they're all Gen Z, but I mean, it's applicable to my generation as well, Gen X. 0% of the ladies would date or marry a guy, even if he's really handsome and, you know, a great guy. 0% of the ladies would marry a guy that's, you know, flipping burgers at McDonald's or Burger King. This really kind of says everything. You can't actually have this mutual despisement of one side versus the other and the notion of equality. And I've always been for equality. My entire life I've been for equality. But I don't know this. The women can correct me on this, but I can assure you, as a man, whatever you think of me one way or another, but I'm 100% certain, I'm actually 200% certain, that just as Nora Vincent found out, and she wrote that book, Self-Made Man, and you can find video clips of her all over Instagram. She got so miserable she took herself out. So miserable. I lost my point there. Anyway, the point being that, oh yeah, this is the point, is that as much as I've always been for equality, I guarantee you, I'm 200% certain, I'll edit that out, that no woman, as Nora Vincent found out, no woman wants to find out what it's truly like to be treated like every other man. I'm 200% certain of that. If women could like do the same thing Nora Vincent did, say for 6 months, man, I mean, that's just, you don't want to know what it's like for one dude to treat you the same as he would treat another dude. You don't. Equal treatment, equal pay. I've always been for that my entire life. And on that front, I am holier than thou. I can say that and hold my head high because I've never treated somebody bad. I've never gone to a bar and like tried to buy somebody a drink. Like, hey, baby, can I buy you a drink? I've never, ever, ever once done that in my life. I'm not spooked by the other gender. There's nothing about them that I'm shy against. I'll talk to any woman as I would any man. I'm so busy working all the time trying to pay the bills. I have no time for anything like that. I'm not out there looking for anybody. I should be. But I'm too busy. But I'm extremely observant about what's happening out there in the world. Extremely observant. But people my age and younger especially are extremely selfish. But this idea that marriage and a family is a luxury, it's just so evil, it's so wrong, it's so against natural order. Here's the fact, and this has been said by other people, that said the most dangerous thing on earth is a young man that is both lonely and broke. 65% of men, 65% of men under 30 have totally given up on dating. Totally. This idea, too, that masculinity is toxic, what if we said femininity was toxic? I mean, that would be considered absolutely 100% heresy. Neither men nor women would ever agree to that. You know, femininity is toxic. What if people said that? Nobody says that, but they think, and it's all over the media, that masculinity is toxic. It's exactly the opposite. Masculinity is not what you think it is. It means standing up for what's right and real. You know, it has a lot of different definitions. What these people claim it is completely wrong. Masculine men, the reason why they want the destruction of masculinity is that masculine men don't put up with tyranny, and this is why they want to destroy it. They want to destroy it. True equality is always treating people the same. This double standard that we have in Western society is extremely corrosive, it's extremely toxic, and it's extremely dangerous. By the way, not only are dating apps totally evil, I have never once in my entire life ever been on a dating app. I've never posted anything on a dating app. I've never looked for anything on a dating app. Does this make me unusual for a guy? You know, I don't think I ever went on a date until I was 28 years old. I just never cared. I cared about the deep secrets of the universe. I have to admit that I've failed on that front because I've dedicated no time to it at all. I would actually love to have somebody else in life to share a life with. Like, you know, you both care for each other, you're together for the right reasons. You know, bald and tattooed, whatever you think of me, I don't care. But at least I actually know what a real relationship is and what a healthy real relationship is. I actually do know. I've even counseled people when I was younger, especially in college. I kept the relationships together. I even counseled this husband and wife, and they decided to keep their baby. I never actually told them about that, just the things that I said to them. They're so happy now, and they actually said, I've even got a picture of their baby saved on my computer. Like, oh, look at that cute little baby. And there's a buddy of mine in Australia, he was asking for male baby names, and I gave him some. One of them was Lucius, which means the light of God, and he named his son that based off my recommendation. I was like, that's so awesome. Very happy guy with a happy wife. I mean, he's so happy. I mean, yeah, he's worn thin, tired. I mean, obviously, any baby requires a lot of work, but I mean, the joy that's been brought into his life. You know, the idea of having free time to, like, you know, scratch your behind and watch TV versus, like, having a beautiful baby, even though it wears you out. This is what being natural and healthy is, huh? This is the reason why all these young people, including my age and younger, they're so miserable. Because they're trying to fight 10 million plus years of biology and natural order by being brainwashed by the stuff on these digital devices, huh? You've been brainwashed. I've never heard so much evil as people say, oh God, I would never bring a baby into this evil world. It's like, that's craziness. People never thought like that during the Great Depression or WW1 and WW2. People didn't say back then, you know, when horrible times were hitting the world, like, oh my God, I'm not going to have this baby. The world is in such a bad shape. People didn't say that. They didn't think that, but they do now. And there's one reason for it, social media, TV, Insta, Facebook, all of it together. You know it and I know it. You can't deny it. It's an undeniable fact. I want people to be happy and lead normal, healthy lives. And they used to. When I was growing up, I'd look around and, of course, you know, I've been alone my entire life. You cannot find anybody in your life that you know or have seen that's more alone than me. But I've been that way my entire life. I mean, it's not a good thing. So I'm not actually practicing what I preach because I'm so busy trying to make ends meet. Yeah, and I do a lot of research and I do a lot of stuff. But I'm actually not practicing what I preach on that front, but I'm quite an anomaly. But I know what's good for me, and I know what's natural order. I wished I was doing it. I just spend no time doing it because I don't have the time. Someone will say, well, you have to make the time. Well, this is also partially true, but I just wish people would, you know, wake up to natural order and stop watching social media. It's just, at least healthy stuff. If you walk into a morgue and 4 out of the 5 people who are lying there, who took themselves out, are young men, what does that tell you? If you walk into a morgue and everybody that's laying there took themselves out, and 4 out of 5 of them are men, you know, the most dangerous person in the world is a lonely, broke young man. Try to contradict me on that. You can't do it because it's true. Western society is producing millions and millions of these people. You can be broke or lonely, but you can't be broke and lonely. It's corrosive and completely destructive to society, but this is what they want. I hate to say it, but that's what they want, and it's working really well on weak-minded people on both sides. I read every comment, so tell me what you think. Have a nice day.